Well, bore da chi gyd. Good morning, everybody. I'm Paul, and I've come up from Pembrokeshire this morning. You'll probably notice that Anthony is unable to be with me today, so it falls to me to tell you all about our supported project. This was my first supported project, and it was Anthony's first supported project, so we took on the world, and I think we're winning. A lesson, perhaps, for me certainly, that in future, maybe not a whole college project, but perhaps a project which engages particular areas, perhaps. Anyway, we set off with three objectives. In 2012, we were particularly concerned about the literacy and numeracy skills of our learners. We felt that they were presenting major barriers to their progress. There was a focus on literacy and numeracy, the Key Stage 3 literacy initiative from Welsh Government, Estin's framework in 2010, and the skills agenda. And so we wanted to find out, basically, where our learners were in terms of their skills. And so we did a little bit of analysis of our initial assessment, which we run with Tribal, and essentially that was a whole college analysis. And you can see that actually only 35% of our learners, right across our range of programs from level 1 to level 3, had level 2 literacy skills, which was a little bit of a warning sign, to be honest. And if we drill down into that, we looked at the literacy scores of level 2 learners on entry and found actually that only around 28% of those learners had the required skills at level 2 in order to equip them with the literacy skills to cope with their program. And you can see from the graphic that 40% of those level 2 learners actually had level 1 skills. And then when you look at the level 3 programs, actually it was only around 40% of our learners that had level 2 skills in literacy going on to level 3 programs, which we felt was a major barrier to their progress. So our first project, therefore, was to look at our IA scores in some depth and just to get to understand where our learners were with their literacy. The second project then was to design a very simple generic marking scheme, which we would then try and sell to our staff as a whole. And this is it. We're very fortunate in Pembrokeshire that we have a lot of colleagues in other colleges that work very closely with us. And we did have a conversation with a lot of those colleagues in order to try and finalise a marking scheme that we could use and sell to our staff. The little chap there is Bryn the Brain, Bryn Ymateb, who is our learning and teaching icon, and we use him a lot, really, to try and sell these initiatives to our learners and to our staff. We were targeting staff and learners in terms of the approach, and this is the student, the learner advice, and essentially what it's saying is we're helping you to understand the green ink comments on your written feedback. We undertook a little initiative where we sold the idea to staff by using green pen. And we had a green pen day where we had a staff development day where the annotation of students' extended writing we sold to staff through annotation in green pen. We also had a focus on staff, so how to use the generic marking scheme, and this is a separate poster which we have used in terms of staff development. Those were the easy bits, the first two objectives. The third objective was to actually equip staff with a set of skills in order to annotate extended writing, challenge learners with relevant targets, and actually get them to correct their work. And that's the journey that we're still on in many ways. If you can imagine a time-served plumber or carpenter and saying to them, you're a teacher of literacy. Some of the looks you get when you say that in a CPD event or session can be quite negative and discouraging. However, we had to change a mindset, and that is a continuing challenge within this particular initiative. However, we had a CPD day, an institutional planning day, and 207 staff came to our sessions, and we had a number of evaluation sheets back. And what was encouraging was that we felt from this graphic that the feedback from staff from those sessions was very encouraging. So we felt we'd had a good start in selling the generic marking scheme. It was a culture change, and a change which staff felt was particularly challenging. What we've done finally, we targeted students in a small survey and staff, and these are some of the results. So we had about 83% of our survey from FE learners, and 89% of them said that the staff, this is some 12 months later, had annotated their written work, which was really encouraging. And that 56% of those responses had actually used the generic marking scheme. Other tutors had used their own marking scheme, but it was encouraging to see a more consistent approach using the generic marking scheme. Now, this is the one which we find most challenging, where we annotate work, where we set targets, and where we challenge learners to correct their work. But again, what was encouraging in this most recent survey is that over 50% of learners had responded to the symbols and made some corrections. I suppose that the proof of the pudding is very much in the eating, and this final question has encouraged us greatly, and we challenged the students to comment on whether their written work had improved as a result of the notes and comments and annotation by tutor, and very encouraging, 76% of students responded positively. We're not ignoring the 25%, and that is our continuing challenge, really. Again, 83% saying that the corrections had improved the standard of their written work, and we have seen an improvement. We also targeted staff in that survey, and it was very pleasing to see that over 95% of staff had started to make comments on students' work, although that is very much a work in progress. We continually meet with staff to see how they're getting on in terms of their annotation. 73% had used the marking scheme, which was encouraging, and that is increasing as we put more emphasis on the marking scheme. Some of the resources that the project gave us have been invested in frames so that we now have the marking scheme in every teaching area in the college, so that we can refer to it both with staff and with learners. There seemed to be complete understanding of what the symbols meant, which was useful. Obviously, going forward, they will become more common in the annotation of the written evidence. This is one which is challenging, and as I said at the beginning, 45% perhaps of staff commented that students were responding to the targets that they'd set and correcting their work. It is still very much a work in progress, getting learners to read the annotation and spending time correcting those the work that they've focused on, and that's a continuing challenge. We asked staff whether the students' work had improved as a result of the comments they'd made, and again, around 66% responded positively, which is encouraging. We've carried out various internal audits just to check the progress of the annotation using the generic marking scheme, and again, those are very positive, but the work is not over and continues really to convert everybody to a more consistent approach. And my final slide really just leaves the final comments with the learners. Learners were invited to comment in the final analysis, and here are some of the comments that they've made. I think what we've achieved is that the focus is very much on students' literacy skills. Punctuation, spelling, grammar are now common terms within our learning areas, both workshops and classrooms. And I think our generic marking scheme has really given us a focus and a vehicle through which we can progress this literacy initiative that we've started using the project. So we're very grateful for the opportunity, I think, and it's certainly encouraged us to do other things in future years. So very many thanks, diolch yn fawr iawn, and that's it from me. Thank you.